So for the knowledge management system, to develop a knowledge management system, some of factors has to be considered and kind of to thought of. So information that need to be collected has to be has to be kind of recognized and identified, because the system would know or would need to be based on basic knowledge that or fields that to be used. What documents that can be considered in that system, that's very important. The information that's to be considered and when that attributed this information, all of these kind of uh, basic uh, pieces has to be considered by the public entity when they think of developing a knowledge management system. So here, when you go to the knowledge and information, we have to be kind of a type of this information that to be enforceable by the law. So the private entity will not go and mess with it. When you go and see in some systems, the organization can create a system and say that the private party will do this, will do that, and give this information and knowledge, and at the end there is nothing that enforce the private entity to do it, so they will neglect it, and it will end up that it will be a mess. So we cannot leave it this way, and we ignore such. So it's very important to be legally enforced in the contract, so that the developer will not ignore what's required in there. And it's like one other thing, that if there is any type of information that hard to capture, hard to catch, let's say for example, if you have the productivity of the contractor or the developer, if we don't have any way to measure it, that can be hard. So you should have a plan how to deal with such information when it's needed, so it can be solved. So the public party should have a plan for this knowledge and information when once you get it. Now, after you ask the private party or your team or whatever means you receive this data, now we need to store it. Storing and maintaining the data, that can be a big issue. Which option to go for? In the old days, it in the old days it was all in the old days it was all about having files and hard copies and keep it in a certain system. But nowadays we have other options. We have electronic kind of formatting and keeping stuff in your own computer, and even nowadays it's in the cloud. So even we can keep data on the clouds and in someone's else server. So there is a lot of options. So we have to decide, where are we going? Are we going for electronic storage, physical and hard copy storage, or mix between both? So that kind of has to be decided. Now, when we start to talk about such information and data and electronic, the word of security and the concept will start to come up and be obvious. So we have to identify what type of security we have to put on this data or information or knowledge. More than that, do you have any classified data? What's the level? Who should know it? Who should have access to it? And who should not have access to it? So that's kind of all these kind of criteria, tests or questions must be answered before when you're developing the system, because knowledge system will need to be consider all of these. And so accessing this information, how to be accessed. So if this information they are on server, how to be accessed, will it be accessed from people they have their own like access point on like SharePoint on their computers, or it will be accessed right away on a shared folder, or in the cloud everyone uses username and password, or it's a folder that it's in a certain room that anyone can walk and look at the information. So how this and who would have access to it, that's very important to know. Now another big question that to be considered, what's the developer, what kind of information the developer would have, and how to deal with it. So that's another thing, that's the it's not only the information or data, they are not only with the public entity, so you can be reliable for some of it. They have the developer or contractor, they have access to it. So and they have it, how to make sure that those are controlled, and what are these. So are these all questions have be must be considered. So to have this knowledge management system to be successful, we have to consider a number of items like accurate data and current. It's very important to have, because without it can be an issue, and reliability of this data can be in question. Legislative and policy compliance. Compliance with policies and with laws is very important, because it's any of these violations can come and hit the public entity hard and become a big liability. So compliance is very important, and if there is compliance, that can help for the success of such a system. Fully utilization of information when shared. So if this on information that we shared, it have to be sure that this information will be kind of utilized the best way. It will not be kind of misused or given redundant without need. So if share information, it has to be really in use, because flooding people with information that they don't need can be an issue. Double handling of information, it can be an issue, because if this information has to go from one person to another person, give it to a third person to pass it just through without commenting or viewing, can be an issue and waste of time. So double handling of information, it must be reviewed and minimized, so the process can be fast and efficient. The format and the timing of the shared data is very important. So what data should be shared when? So that's very important, because it can get away from any issue on that matter. So if you have the legality and enforcement of cooperation between the owner or the public entity and private entity in the matter of knowledge is very important, because if it's not enforced in the contract, the contractor or developer can come and say, oh, there's nothing to obligate me to do it, that's extra work, I need to get paid extra, or I will not do it. So that can be an issue. So it has to be mentioned clearly in the contract that such sharing or such cooperation in the knowledge and information management should be there.